Yeah, good morning, students. So, today I'm going to cover the second part of the fourth unit. In the first part, we have already talked about this paper based packaging material, and in the second part, it is about the metal packaging material. In the third part, it is about glass packaging material, and in the fourth part, it is about type sealing and type of sealings and closures. So, this is the second part, and in this part, we will learn about what are the different metals that are used for the manufacturing of packaging material, and ultimately those packaging materials are used for the food packagings. So in this unit we will learn what are the different type of can and how they are manufactured, and after that it is about, it includes some aluminum can also. Then finally the last part of this unit is about the metal packaging, corrosion of metal packaging materials. So if you will go through the module descriptor, so first part is the characteristics of metal container, second is the metal and internal coating, third is the aluminum foil and the container, and fourth one is the corrosions. So I'll talk about only three part, and the last part, that is corrosion of metal packaging material. It is very common subject topic, and you might have learned in your lower classes, and moreover I have assigned this topic to somebody. So I'll not go in detail. I'll talk bit late. It's very basic. So let me start this unit. Let metal packaging material. Is it? Yeah. So if we talk about the different type of metals that have been used for the food packaging, then there are four metals basically which are used for the food packaging. Number one is the steel, number two is aluminium, three is tin, and fourth is the chromiums. So generally they are used in combinations, like steel and tin are used and to manufacture the tin plates, and in the second combination the steel and chromiums are mixed, or they are both are used to manufacture a another material that is known as electrolytically chromium coated steels, and it is also known as tin free steels. So aluminiums is generally used as a pure materials, means it is not used in combinations, and whenever we use aluminiums it contain traces of magnesium and manganese ions. Then copper is one another material that is used as a wire when we go for the welding. So if you will look at the history, when these metals were used in manufacturing of this food packagings, then the first case has been reported from England, that in 1699 and in 1720, these are the two cases reported in the literatures. They started manufacturing tin plates, and from this tin plate they prepare some utensils like plate. Followed by, after that, there are some examples in which the food was packaged in a canisters that was made up of iron, and in that canisters food were placed, and that canister was filled with fat, and later on the lid was soldered, and the product they have packaged in this way were salmon, beef roast, etc. If then in between there is a contribution of Nicholas Appert. You may be knowing about Nicholas Appert. He was the one who developed the process of canning. Sorry. So the nowadays the canning procedure that is popular, the credit goes to Nicholas Appert. And sometimes canning is also known as appertizations. So if you will look at the initial work of this Nicholas Appert, he preserved the meat by using a container that was made up of glass. So it was in 1810, from the Ministry of Interior's Bureau of Arts and Manufactures. They announced a price of 12,000 francs to preserve the meat for a longer times, and he earned that prize. But the prize was given to him provided if he will publish all the detail of his work in a booklet. Then he published a book, and he printed 200 copies of that work, that is known as your appertizations. And it is assumed that why these tin plates were not used in his initial work, why he used glass basically. So the reason is that the quality of the tin was not that good at that time. After this, there was a end of American Civil War, and the canners had increased their output sixfold. Means slowly this cannings, or you can say this can manufacturing, was taking place, but it was slow and laborious. And both the cans were soldered to can with a hole of about 25 in diameter left in the toe. So metallic discs were soldered in the place. So it is some previous work which has been carried out in manufacturing of can. So generally the tin and aluminiums were preferred, and the reason behind selecting the tin and aluminium for the manufacturing of the can in the previous earlier time, or in the beginning, the reason was that the tin and aluminiums were having the better mechanical strength and resistance to the working conditions. They impart very less toxicity, and they were having superior barrier properties to the gases, moisture, and light. They have the ability to withstand the wide extremes of the temperatures, and they were offering the ideal surface for decoration and lacquering. If we talk about how we select a container, then what are the different performance requirements? So if we are preparing a can, metallic can, then it should preserve and protect the food, resist chemical action of the product, withstand the handling processing condition, withstand the external environment conditions, have the correct dimensions, have the required self-display properties at the point of sale, provided easy opening and simple and safe product removal, should be constructed from recyclable raw materials. So these are the requirements. Now if this video will work, then I'll show the video and then we will start different type of can manufacturings.
How are cans made?
So,
At this factory, they make 1,100 cans every minute around the clock. That's more than 1.5 million cans every day. Here is how the can looks at different stages. From a sheet of metal to a can that's ready to hold your beans. Large metal sheets arrive at the factory from lots of different countries around the world, including China and Brazil. First, they are cut into small rectangles by this special machine. Each of these rectangles will become a can. Next, the smaller rectangles of metal are taken to this machine, where they are bent around a cylinder to make a tube shape. The edges are then soldered together by this machine. The metal can now hold its shape without falling apart. The can then passes into this machine, which strengthens it by adding these ribs called beads. Next, this machine makes the lids and bottoms by punching out the shape from sheets of metal, like this. Finally, once all the parts are made, the bottom is attached to the can using heat. The can is now ready to be filled with beans and the lid attached, ready to be delivered to stores for you to buy.
okay, in this video you have seen that there are many stages. So now I'm coming to the can making process. So if we classify the cans, then there are two broad category of the can. One is the three-piece can and second is the two-piece can. As the name suggests, in this can there are three parts. One is the main body, and then there are the two closures or end closures, you can say. In this can there are only two pieces, and one is the body, and we provide only one lid from the external side, that is your top lid, you can say. So what is the difference between two? Let's learn. So if we talk about the three-piece can, it is consists of a cylindrical body rolled from a piece of flat metal with a longitudinal seams. Generally, it is welded together with the two cans and which are seamed onto each end of the body. What does it mean actually? It says that there is a piece of flat metal. It is rolled into cylindrical body, and then this cylindrical body, how this cylindrical body is turns into a hollow cylinder with a longitudinal seams. First metal is rolled, then it is converted into a hollow cylinder by using the welding. After that, there are the two can ends which are seamed on to each end of the body. In this way, this three-piece can is manufactured. And if we talk about the two-piece can, it is made up from the disc or the metal that is reformed into cylinder with an integral end to become a seamless container, drawn and redrawn containers, and drawn and wall iron containers. So in case of two-piece cans, what happens when we take a disc or uh, disc of the metal that is reformed into a cylinder. So means there is a flat plate and it is compressed and it is has been given a cup shape of the size, and then with the further redrawn process it is converted into a can. So there are the two methods by which we can produce this two-piece can. One is the drawn and redrawn, and second is the drawn and wall ironing. So we will learn about these two in the coming parts. So let's talk about which kind of material has been used for the three-piece can. So it will be better if I'll cover three-piece can first and then I'll cover about two-piece can. So as I said, in case of three-piece can, there is a metal piece that is converted into a cylindrical body, and that cylindrical body is then joined together with the welding, and after that two can end are applied. So for construction of three-piece can, steel is used, because if you will use this aluminium, then the welding is not possible. In case of aluminium, you have to go for soldering. So how this three-piece can is manufactured? So for this, as I said, there is a requirement of the steel, and if you will look at the steel supply at industrial scale, steel is supplied in form of coils, round coils of the steels, and from that coils there is a metal cutting, and it is cut into a sheet of 1 by 1 or 1 meter square. Fine, that is coating of sheet. Then a coating of sheet is carried out. This steel sheet is coated except the area to be welded internally as well as externally. So after that we go for some kind of printing, and then this ink has been dried by putting this metal piece into a oven that is thermally heated at a temperature of 152 to 205 degrees centigrade. Sometimes we can use a faster method that is known as UV lamp. So there are nowadays there are some ink, if we pass through the under the UV lamp, they dried immediately. So it is a time saving operations if we are using UV lamp. Then this is the 1 meter sheet. Now this 1 meter square sheet is further cut into smaller sections that is known as the individual blanks. It is slit into small individual blanks. Now these blanks are ready, and then these blanks are rolled into cylinders. And during rollings, we keep in mind that there should be an overlapping of the two edges with at least 0.4 mm, you can say overlapping. Now these ends are welded together by passing a alternating currents. When alternating current is passed, this metal get heat up and get softened, and then we can there is a fusion of these two pieces. Then we have prepared a hollow cylinders, fine, and after this preparation of hollow cylinders, we will again apply a repair side or stripe lacquer coat inside the welds. So after this weldings, so the place where we have done weldings, there are the chances that there is no coating. So to make the cylinder intact, we will further apply the coating, and this lacquer, you can say lacquer is the word that is used for the coating materials. Lacquering is the coating kind of thing. After that, we have two options what we wish to produce. The options can be like this: if we wish to produce food can, then there will be different method, and if we wish to produce drink can, then there will be different methods. So let's talk about the food can. If we are going to manufacture the food cans, then we carry out flanging. Flanging means we turn up the metal's edges outwards. Turn up means how to explain it actually. Like there is a hollow cylinders and we turns the you can say edges of the both sides on the outward so that it can fix with the end. And if we are manufacturing the drink can, so there is one more process that is known as necking, or and then it is flanged. Necking means like the hollow cylinder is having a diameter of 10 centimeter. So there is a reduction in the diameter from the both end. You might have seen in the very many drink cans that the whole, you can say the main body is bit wider, but the top and the bottom is bit narrower ends. So from the both side the diameter has been reduced and then it is flanged. So the purpose of necking here is to reduce the dia, and the reduced dia help for the cost saving because the lid that we will apply will be smaller. Second, it will help in the proper stacking. After that, this uh, now you are having hollow cylinder in both cases as well as is your food can or drink can. After that, the lower lid is applied to the can. Let's you can say put that hollow cylinder on the table, and the bottom side end will be termed as maker's end, and it is mechanically seamed to the bottom and generally it is flat. After filling, the canner's end is sealed. Means it is not done in the industry. It will be carried out at on-site operations. Let your empty can has been supplied to the industry in which there one can has been welded to the hollow cylinder and one can is supplied in the loose form, and whatever the material they wish to pack, either it is a drink or it is a food material, then they will apply this canner's end. So before after means after applying the maker's end is what? It is the bottom end. Then the beading is carried out. Beading is a process in which we produce some beads in the circumference of the cans. Beads means, if you can, I think camera is not working, but in the first slide you can see it easily what is the meaning of beads in video also. So as I was explaining about, this end is known as the maker's end. Okay, this is the bottom end, and this is the seam. This is the side seam which has been welded. It will be welded if it is the material is steel, and it will be soldered if the material is your aluminium. This is the main body, and these rings are called as beads, and the process by which we produce this bead is known as beading. And at the top we apply the lid, and that is known as the canner's end. I hope you understand this process. Yeah, we just do it. Okay. After beading, the empty can is ready for the filling, and before supplying to the industry it has been tested for the pinhole or any kind of defect simply by passing through the air pressure testers. So there is a testing device which supply the pressed airs, and if means and if pinhole is there, then we reject that can. So in this way, your empty three-piece food or drink can is ready. So if we talk about the three-piece can, the story is over. Now I'm coming to the two-piece can. So in this case, there were the three-piece, and here I'm saying there are only two-piece. The material used for the two-piece can manufacturings are the pre-coated, laminated, printed tin plate or tin-free steels. So tin-free steel is also known as electrolytically chromium coated steel. Fine. So what has been written? Made from disc of metal. Fine. That is reformed into cylinders. First we have a disc, then we press it into a cylinder with integral end to become a seamless containers. Means the bottom side we do not need to apply. The bottom side lid we do not need to apply, because due to pressing that the metal sheet part become a end and become a seamless container. Drawn and redrawn means there are two methods by which we can produce the can. One is the DRD can and second is the DWI can. So now first I'll talk about the DRD cans. So to manufacture them, either we can take a coil or we can take a sheet. Fine. So these coils or sheets are bring under a reciprocating press, means press like that will punch it. Means there is a flat sheet in under the machine, and in that machines there are some dies. That die will press the that sheet, and when it will press the sheet, it will make a cup, and it will first there is a cutting. So this cutting will produce a circular disc. Fine. The reciprocating press is there, and it will cut the metal sheet or coil into a circular disc, and that is known as blank. And then this blank is draws, means that is draws means we press it, draws blank into a shallow cup. And if your requirement is enough, then it will also be termed as can. Fine. But when we carry out the process of drying, then the you can say the height is not that much, but thickness remains almost constant. Okay. So the cup depth is not that high, so to increase the height of the can, this cup is further drawn, and that is known as redrawn process. First there was a metal disc, it was pressed and it was converted into a cup, and now this cup do not have sufficient height. Just to increase the height, it is redrawn into can of smaller diameter and greater height. Now you can see the diameter of the redrawn can will be smaller than drawn one. The reason is that slowly you are decreasing the dia and increasing the height, but the thickness of the material will remain same throughout the length of the can. So now we have redrawn the cup and has increased the height. After this, all the process of necking, flaging, beading process follow according to the this can that we have already explained. Height to diameter ratio as of the three-piece welded can. After this, there is carried out a light testing. Means in this case, we do not use air pressure testing, and for testing of the cans, we use a light testing. A high beam of light is used to examine if their pinhole is there, and your DRD can is ready. Next, I am coming to the two-piece drawn and wall iron cans. So, what is the main difference between DRD can and DWI can is that in case of DRD can, the metal thickness remains same, only the diameter is reducing. In case of DWI cans, we further reduce the thickness of the metal wall, and the purpose behind to reduce the thickness of the metal wall is that because if we pack any food product in the metallic can, then the actual cost, or you can say the cost of the product which has been packaged in the can, is mainly due to the canning material. So just to reduce or to optimize the cost of the product, we have to minimize the use of this metallic material, and it can be achieved by the thinning of the wall. So for this, it is the material that is used is the uncoated tin plate or aluminium. If we are using the processed food like beans or peas, then we will use only tin. That is enough. We will not use aluminium. The reason behind not using aluminium is that because generally we carry out what you say this sterilization process, and we used to sterilize the can, and when we sterilize the can, then there is a steam generations and a high pressure develop inside the can, and aluminium cannot withstand that high pressure. That's why we use tin plates only. So how these two piece drawn and wall iron cans are manufactured. So first of all, we will do prepare the cup, same process as we have done in the DRD. Then from this cupping press, we will obtain the shallow cups, and then these shallow cups are fed into a parallel body making machines. Fine. So in case of parallel body making machine, the cups are first redrawn to the final can diameters. Okay. So this story actually begins after the DRD cans. You have redrawn it to the final can diameter and then rammed through a series of rings with tungsten carbide internal coating surface. So these rings are there and which are having a hard coating of tungsten carbide internal surface, which thin the can wall, means basically they thin the iron and they which thin the sorry, not iron, they thin iron means just to pressing, and they thin the can wall, while uh, at the same time increasing the can height. Can body is flooded with the same type of the lubricant used in the cupping process. So basically when this what you say this raw material is supplied, it is coated with some kind of lubricant. So please follow me. This cupping process is same. After this shallow cup has been manufactured. After shallow cup, the redrawn process will be carried out and the final diameter has been adjusted. Okay, now the process of this uh, drawn and wall ironing will start. So to after this can will be rammed through a series of rings with tungsten carbide internal surfaces, and when they will rotate inside the can, they will thin the can wall, and when they will thin the can wall, then there will be an increase in can height. So if we obtain a higher can height, then we have to go for this DWI can, and the can body is flooded with the same type of lubricant used in the cupping process. So in whole process we carry out this, there is means inside the can rings are rotating, and when they are doing thinning, then there is a friction, and due to friction there is a heat generation. Just to control that heat, this lubricant is continuously flushed, or you can say sprayed inside the can, just to lower down the temperatures. Now your can is ready, having one end intact. There is no need to weld that maker's end. Fine. But the top of the can will be a uneven size. So we will trimming of uneven top edges of the can. After trimming, chemical washing is and drying is carried out just to remove that lubricant from the can surface. Now again we have two options what we wish to produce. Either we wish to produce drink can or food can. There is a little difference between two process. Like in case of food can, the lacquer application and the paper labels on the outsides. In case of food can, first we will apply the lacquer and then we will apply the paper label on the outside. Then it is heated for drying of this applied lacquer. We put it inside a heated oven. Then after when the can is dry, we do for the flanging. Flanging is just to turning the outer edges to the outside, outward, if it is outward flanging. And the flanging is followed by beading if it is a food can. Then we apply the inside coating with the lacquer. Then it is this lacquer is dried by putting it inside in the oven, and after this can is tested for the light tester to test the pinhole. So your can is ready now in case of food can. So in case of drink can, the coated externally with a clear pigmented base coat that forms a good surface for printing inks. Fine. After that, it is heated in that oven, and after heating, a printer, a high-speed printer or decorators that apply around 8 colors plus varnish. So varnish is applied on the bottom side also. A heavy varnish has been applied in the bottom of the drink can just to provide a extra strength. After this, there is a drying of the ink and the varnish, and finally inside of the can is coated with the lacquer. And after this, what you say, the difference between drink can and food cans, that is wall irons. The main difference is in case of food cans we have to produce some beads, and we used to pass it to the beading machine, but in case of drink can there is no need of beading, so we are bypassing these methods. So what I was saying, inside of each can is coated with lacquer, it is dried, and then nacre flangers machines were the where the diameter of the top wall is first reduced, necked in before the top edge is flanged outward to accept the cannon. So after this, the necking and flanging is done. Fine. So yeah, there is another difference. Here only flanging was carried out. Here necking and flanging will be carried out, and your product is ready to accept the uh, can end. And after this process, the can is tested for the pinhole by passing it under the high beam of the light, that is known as light testers. So here it is the diagrammatic representations that what we I have speak till now. This is the diagrammatic representations in which it is showing how this three-piece can welding principles is carried out. So first of all, there is a flat metallic sheet. Then it is rolled into a cylinder. Fine. Then these cylinders edges are overlapped with a distance of 0.4 mm. Then a high voltage, or you can say alternating current, is applied, and then it is welded. So it is a welded seam. So this is the diagram that represent the two-piece drawn can forming. Fine. So this is the example in which only a single draw shallow can has been obtained. So first of all, we will make a cut from the coil or the sheet. We will draw it into a shallow can. Then we will flange formed in the top wall. So this you can say turning the top edge outward. It is known as flanging. So we will not redrawn it. So if our requirement is only very small size, then this much can will work fine. You might have seen some small sizes disc in the lab to carry the sample. Next is the drawn and redrawn. So as you have seen this, there is again the story start with the disc cut or from the coil or the sheet. It is drawn into shallow cup. Then here you can see the diameter is larger than this portion. So it is further redrawn, and when it is redrawn, the height will increase and diameter will decrease. And then it is further redrawn, then this diameter will be smaller than this diameter and height will further increase. Mean to say that the thickness of the body will remain same throughout the process. Yeah, two-piece drawn can forming. So yeah, here it is the example of DWI cans. In case of DWI cans, there is a disc cut. It is drawn into shallow cup, and then it is redrawn into a smaller diameter. Now the diameter will not be further reduced, but the wall thinning will be carried out, and due to wall thinning, the height of the can will increase. Further, we have options. Either we wish to produce this drink can or we wish to produce this food can. In case of food can, you can see here that is beading is carried out and no necking has been carried out. But in case of this what you say drink cans, the necking on the top part has been carried out and then flanging had been carried out. Fine. Now, the last portion of this can manufacturing is the end manufacturing. End means the lid, you can say. So, for manufacturing of the end, we generally use tin plate and aluminium and tin free steels. And if we are using aluminium and tin free steels, these are the coated materials. And in case of tin plate, it is optional. It depends on the requirement. Sometimes we can go for coating, and in some cases we can use tin plate as a next form, because if we are using for the food purposes, then also tin offers a inert surface. Base of a three-piece can plain end. Okay, there are the two type of the end in the can. One is the non-easy open end and another is the easy open end. And as I said, non-easy open ends means we do not to means we need a tool to open it, and easy open end means that we can open it easily, as generally in case of beer can you might have seen. The plain food can ends, and so this plain food can is the base can and easy open. As I said, there are the two type of the end. One is the non-easy open and it is also known as plain food can end and easy open ends. So these are the two types of the ends, and they both have means both type of the ends are used in the food and drink can. The body of an end that will be ultimately converted into easy open end is referred as a cell. Let me repeat it. The body of an end that will be ultimately converted into easy open end. So it's referred to as a cell. So cell is something that is related to easy open end. There is one more type of this end that is known as stay on tab. So in some cases it is required that your lid will remain attached to the can on the top surface. So it depends actually. So let me start with how to make these cans end. So for preparation of this can, what you say this can end, we generally use coils of metal or from sheet cut or the coils. Means either you can use directly metal coil or you can make a sheet cut and then you can use. Then it is stamped. Stamped means pressing kind of thing, followed by curling of the edges. The mechanical seaming. You might have learned that in the previous portion we were talking about flanging. Fine. Why this flanging was carried out in the metal, this can, just that it can receive the end. So to get it in adapted or is so it can fix very well, the edges curling of the edges is carried out. Then it is passed through a lining machine that applies a bead of liquid lining compound around the inside of the curves. So this is something very simple type of the process through which we can produce a plain end. The conversion of end cell into a easy open end. The the partially cutting through the perimeter of the opening panel and attaching a metal tab with which to tear open the panels. See, as I said, there are two type of the end. One is the plain end, and this process is defining how to manufacture the plain end. Now, this process is how to prepare easy open can, easy open end. To prepare the easy open end, generally we do the scoring. Scoring is something partial cutting the perimeter of the opening panel. We generally make a partial cutting. I think in the coming diagrams you will understand it well. See, we cut it, partial cutting, then we attach it with the tab. Okay, and then this cut, the portion which has been cut initially, it is open end. So it has been written here, scoring partial cutting through the perimeters of the opening panel and attaching a metal tab with which to tear open the panel so that we can open it easily. So these are the some steps for to produce the easy open can, easy open and can end, easy open can end. The pull tab is made from a narrow strip of pre-coated aluminium or steel which is in coil form. What is pull tab? This is the pull tab. Okay, so this is made up of from a narrow strip of the pre-coated aluminium or steel. The strip is first passed and cut, then the tab is formed into two further stages before it is ready to be joined on the end cell. The cell passes through a series of dies that score them and form a hollow upstanding rivet in the center of the panel of the cell, and the tab is then placed over the upstanding rivet on the cell, and then the rivet is deformed to make a joint between the two components. The finished end ready for capping the filled cans are packed into paper sleeves and palletized for the shipment in the can fillers. So in this whole process, they are trying to explain this easy open end convergence. So this is the lid in which they will first make a cut partial scoring to which a stab or you can say tab has been attached and a tab fitted over the rivet pin. So it is attached with the scoring part and when you will pull it, it will open it. So these were the round cans. So there are some non-round cans also that has been used in the packaging of the food, especially for the fish, meats, edible oils. So open tray of round or non-round sections are used for the baked food products or with lids as take away from the food containers. So sometimes our purpose is just to pouring and sometimes we have the purpose to empty the can. Sometimes our purpose is to take away the food. So accordingly the aperture or the top lid will be decided. But you have to mainly deal with the round type of the cans. So here it is an example. If you will learn about the canning, then there will be a term that is known as double seaming. It's there or not? It's not there. Anyway, please understand. There are two lines. This is the one line, okay, and this is the flanged part of the can. Fine, and this is the curled part of the can end. I will not say can end. Let me say it as lid so that it will be non-confusing. So these are the two seats. One seat belongs to the metal can, and the top seat belongs to the lid. Fine. It has a lining compound here. So in the first roller die, A, B it is here. It is B. So in the first, the lining compound is here. So first, the roller will, you can say, turn it like this. So this is the first seam. Okay. Now you can see here there is a gap. So to make it intact, it is again passed through a roller die. So this lining compound now has, you can say, has been filled between the this gap, and there is no possibility of leakage. Now you can see this is the joint, and here it is, and finally your compound will be trapped like this at the final stage. And mean to say that we will bring the two parts together, and then with the help of the die we will turn it, curl it, and we'll finally make a seam like this. Here you can see same story. This is the your lid thickness, and this is the main body. So process is similar. So the parts, different type name you can read: seam thickness, overlap, seam gap. I'll provide you the slides. So through the whole process, I was talking about lacquering and protective coatings. So in most of the can manufacturings, we provide a protective coating so that just to minimize or just to avoid the chance of if any type of contact is there between the food and the metal surface, then it should not deteriorate the quality. So what is the purpose? Means what are the protective coating basically? Internally enameled metal containers are used when product and plain container would interact. If there is a possibility that your product and container can interact, then we apply these protective coatings to offer us following functions: to extend the shelf life or not to allow the quality of the product to unacceptable level. Second, to prevent interaction between the product and the container, and sometimes just to facilitate the easy removal, like some in cases in which the meat loaf has been packed. So this lacquering offers a easy removals. It will not stick to the can, while others are used merely to improve the appearance of the pack. It will look glossy, no doubt, if it is applying outside. So here are some examples. There are many types of internal enamel coatings have been used for the food, like epoxy phenolic, epoxy amino, epoxy acrylides. There are a number of examples you can read. Phenolic. So the first epoxy resins used in coating was the bisphenol A, and till date the people are using this bisphenol A popularly worldwide. Next part is the aluminium foil and the container. So as in the beginning I said, there are the four metal. One is the steel, second is the tin, and one is the aluminium, and one is chromium. So till now we have covered about tin, steel, and chromium. Now we will talk about aluminiums. What is the use of aluminium in the food packagings? So the aluminium foil is very common item in the houses, means especially in the cities where you carry your lunch. Then I think luckily you do not need that type of facility. But when you need to wrap some kind of egg roll, or you can say some parathas, then to keep it warm for a longer times, aluminium foil is a fashion nowadays also. So aluminum foil is a thin rolled sheet of alloyed aluminiums. The thickness is 4 to 150 microns. So this is a thin rolled sheet, means the aluminium has been rolled into a thin sheet, and then we produce a aluminium foil. United States 1913, the aluminium foil was used for the wrapping of candy bars and chewing gums. In 1921, it was laminated on the paperboard or folding carton just to improve the barrier property. Household foils was marketed into 1920, that we generally use, and in the restaurant also it will be there. And the first heat sealable foil was developed in 1938. This is about history. The foils can be produced by two methods: either by passing the heated aluminium sheet ingot between the roller in a mill under pressure and then re-rolling on the sheet and plate mills until the desired gauge is obtained, or continuous casting and cold rolling. So these are the two methods by which we can produce aluminium foils. Aluminium foil can be converted into a wide range of shapes, and the products including the semi-rigid container with foam foil lids, cap liners, composite can, canisters, laminates. So these are the different type of the products which can be produced. So the popular item is the tube from the aluminium. How this tube, what the tube exactly is? The collapsed aluminium tube is unique food package that allows the user to apply the product directly and in precise amount. You might have seen pitch screw and some small sachets, I guess, in which a lid is there, small plastic lid is there. So if like you are using a sauce bottle, then you need to apply half tablespoon and it may pour either 1/4 of the tablespoon or 1 tablespoon. But if you are using this aluminium tube, then you can apply in the product directly, number one. Number two, in the precise amount when required. The typical application include the condiments such as mustard, mayonnaise, sausage, as well as desserts, cheese spreads. So these are the products which can be packed in the aluminium tube. The aluminium tube is how it is formed. Now I'm coming. Aluminium tube is formed by the cold impact extrusion of aluminium sludge using a plungers. What is this cold impact extrusions? You please go through. If you feel any problem, you can call me or contact me. That to relieve the hardness, the tube is annealed in an oven at 600 degrees centigrade, after which inside is enameled with epoxy phenolic and acrylic lacquer. The aluminium tubes are printed by a dry offset processing using either thermally or UV coatings. Almost process is same, no need to harm. This is a very popular product which is in which aluminium has a contributions. Retort pouch. The you can say maximum that your Amul Taza or Nutrilite, whatever the package that is available, it is nowadays available in the retort pouches. Retort pouches actually, if you will retort, that is a Tetra Pak actually. Retort pouches are the, I think you do not have that facility. Anyway, Haldiram is the one that is using this product, retort pouching. And if you are using the retort pouch, what is the beauty? Let me tell you. The shelf life of the packaged food in the retort pouch, if you will keep it at 16 degrees centigrade, then you can achieve a shelf life of 130 months. 27, 76 months. If it is 38, 22 months. 50 degree, only a month. And if you are keeping at chill temperatures before being used, you can keep the product for 10 years. This is real figure. It was developed in 1950. The retort pouch is a flexible package, hermetically sealed on a 3 or 4 side and made from one or more layer of the plastic or foil, each layer having a specific function. So here you can see the top layer is propylene, sometimes it is PET, then there is nylon, you have already studied. In between there is a aluminium foil. So the function has been given sidewise, like heat resistance, provide flexibility and strength. Nylon is providing abrasion resistance. And what's the function of this aluminium foil? Protect from light, gases, odors, extend the shelf life. Then polyesters, outside layer of the, this is the outside layer, and this polyester can be replaced with the PET. Excellent printable surface and provide the strength. So it is a kind of laminate, you can say, in which aluminium is one component. A typical 3-layer pouch structure would consist of outer layer 13 micrometers of the PET for strength and toughness, a middle layer 9 to 18 micrometer aluminium foil as a moisture, light and gas barrier, inner layer 70 to 100 micrometer, this CPP for heat resistant, salability, strength and compatibility. What the CPP, I'm sorry for this one, you please check. I was in hurry actually. And additional inner layers can be on 6, which extend the shelf life. So ultimately, you no need to go in that details. The thing is that retort pouch is a composite material and in which you can use aluminium foil which protect, and the purpose of using aluminium foil here is to save the product from the light, gas and the odor. This is the recent concept, has been introduced in the Japan and nowadays getting popular. You might have seen some youngsters, and even in your bag you can check the water bottle that generally you carrying are the aluminium cans. These are also known as bottle cans. Was launched by the two Japanese breweries in 2000, and in United States energy drink In 2001, it was used in the United States. The bottle are made up either by the impact extrusion or since 2008, a coil to can process has been developed, resulting in the wide range of the size. So generally, if you talk about the liquor, then vodka has been stored in this type of the thing. So it's all about from my side regarding this metal can. Thank you very much, and let me check the duration of the video, and if it permit me, no chance at all. Thank you very much.